called just raise your hand now, because I think just about every coach in the entire network advanced last week. But congratulations, and like as Darren just said, a special shout out to Megan Ewald's son, brand new baby boy, Abe. She's been working, just spinning plates and having babies. So she made all that happen. Congratulations to your superstarness. That's awesome. Well, coaches, this morning we have a special call. As you may know, we've introduced last year a new part of not of our compensation plan, but some new focus to help create more focus on building a more stable, productive business, and we call it our leadership ladder. And to help talk about that this morning, we have none other than the illustrious, the wonderful, the magnificent Mr. Michael Neiman on the call with us this morning. At least I think he's there. Michael, are you with us this morning?
Jeff, how are you?
You're never better now that I hear your resonant, lovely voice.
Jeff, I told you you only had to use one of the words illustrious, wonderful, or magnificent, not all three.
Michael, I just said it the way you wrote it for me. So you can't,
okay, well, you missed the or and thought it was an and, so I'll forgive you.
No worries. Hey, well, so Michael, lots of great things happening in the network, and we're not far off for Summit. Maybe at the end we'll talk just a little bit more about that. But the real purpose of this call is to get a little bit more insight and context around what we're calling the leadership ladder. So why don't you give kind of the layman's term of what the leadership ladder is and why we introduced it to begin with, when we introduced it?
Sure. Well, we started talking about the leadership ladder at the last leadership event. We introduced the concept of the leadership ladder, but let me tell you a little background on where it came from. You know, at the start, one of the things that I know, and Jeff, you've probably experienced this too, but always at the beginning of the year, at the first Super Saturdays of the year that I go to, and usually that's when, you know, we stand up and we introduce all of the elite coaches that all the coaches that qualified for elite at the end of the year, and often there's either a panel or sometimes these elite coaches are talking, and if they ask for questions from the crowd, one of the things that often people ask are, one, what kind of activity, what's it going to take for me to become an elite coach? Or sometimes the question is even, what's it going to take for me to become a six-figure earning coach? And so, so we took a look at that and we said, and we went back and we said, really, what does it take to become a coach that has a stable and growing business and is earning over six figures a year, which is a huge income. And we said, what does their business look like? Obviously, that doesn't happen just overnight. That happens over a period of time. It happens over lots of growth. But we then went back and said, what do different milestones along the way look like? And we did a ton of data analysis, and we came up with kind of a general profile with, and we broke that journey up into 5 milestones that we call the leadership ladder rungs. And we said, what are the sort of attributes of that coach, including looking at one of the things we looked at is how much is that coach earning at each of these rungs, and what are the activities that they're doing at each of the rungs, and what are the and what is their team starting to look at each of these rungs. And so basically we came up with what we call the leadership ladder. And the leadership ladder is just to say it again, a series of benchmarks for coaches to drive towards. And each of these benchmarks creates a foundation for their business, and it creates a business that's going to be stable and positioned for growth. How does that sound, Jeff?
That's perfect. I think what I want to reemphasize, because since we've introduced this, just in this year alone, we've had over 120,000 new coaches join us, but so many people are putting in tremendous effort into growing their business, and they do want to have benchmarks. And if they're going to put forth the effort, they want to make sure they're focusing on the right things and going for the right benchmarks, and that's what this represents. But so, Michael, we have ranks in our compensation plan. Just to be clear, how do these differ than like the ranks of Emerald or Ruby or Diamond or, you know, so on?
Well, we've incorporated the ranks into the leadership ladder But what we've done is at each rung, we have a rank, but we also have some additional attributes that we build around the rank. And let me give you an example. Just real quick, just to start off, the first rung of the leadership ladder, which is the business starter, is really the rank for a beginning coach. And it's really saying, what are the attributes that we want the business starter to be in? We want them to be qualifying for Success Club. And so as a new coach, setting the bar of saying, I need to qualify for Success Club, that's what we want to happen. And because what we know is that when a new coach qualifies for Success Club, how do you qualify for Success Club? Well, you're really just enrolling 3 new people, whether they're customer or coaches. You're successfully introducing Beachbody solutions to help people get results, and either selling them a challenge pack or getting them on Shakeology. But you qualifying for Success Club is really the first step to show that you're starting to master the vital behaviors that are helping you get people connected to Team Beachbody. But the next step is really, I think, an example of where where there's a little bit difference between the compensation plan rank and the leadership ladder milestone. And that the next one is what we call a team builder. So the first thing I know that a lot of coaches think about is, I've got to get to Emerald. That's the first next step on the compensation plan ranks, and they get to Emerald. And the way that you get to Emerald is that you have one active coach on your right leg and one active coach on your left leg, and then you are an Emerald coach. And that is awesome. The only thing I'll tell you is that to continue to grow your business and to grow an organization, and you know, Jeff, let me take a step back and just talk earlier when we talked about how do I eventually earn $100,000 a year, or even simpler than that, how do I earn $1,000 a month? When you start to talk about earning that type of money, most of your check is actually coming from the team cycle bonus portion of the compensation plan. And the way that you earn team cycle bonus is through volume. And the way that you build volume is through building a productive organization. Because an organization is what's really going to build that team volume. So let me take a step back now to when I was talking about Emerald. You have a coach on your right and a coach on your left. Now, those 2 coaches, one of them may be your spouse. The other one may be your neighbor who is excited to join your challenge group and be drinking Shakeology. But the reality is that potentially those 2 coaches that you enrolled are not necessarily in enrolling activity themselves. They may just be Shakeology consumers, which is awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact of the matter is that if you want to start building an organization, you have to be also building coaches, at least some of your organization, who are also in enrolling activity. And so that's why at the team builder level, in addition to just the activity of you having to qualify for Success Club, you want to have at least 2 of your personally sponsored coaches having at least 1 Success Club point in the month. That 1 Success Club point in the month by your 2 personally sponsored coaches tells you that you're starting to build an organization of people who are also starting to build an organization. And that means that it might be that you don't just need 2 personally sponsored coaches, but you might need 4 personally sponsored coaches. You might need 8 personally sponsored coaches until you get 2 of them that are also in Success Club activity or enrolling activity. And so the difference really between the ranks and the leadership ladder milestones is that the leadership ladder milestones ask you to think a little bigger than the rank. It makes you think through the rank. A good example, again, is the next rung, which is team leader, which I think is a critical step in a coach's development. At the team leader, we're hoping that you achieve the rank of diamond, but also that you're starting to build an organization with at least 10,000 team volume points, with 5,000 in your weak leg. And so what does that look like? If you look at just a diamond, if you look at a diamond organization, which by the way, achieving diamond is an awesome achievement. So we're not saying, oh, you just achieved diamond. We're saying, yes, you achieved diamond, because that means that you are starting to have the skeleton of an organization that's ready for growth. But what the leadership ladder says is that when I achieve the rank of diamond, in order to be a team leader, I have to be in Success Club every month, but also I need to have at least 4 of my personally sponsored coaches having at least 1 Success Club point each. That starts to, again, build that engine within my organization, because as a diamond coach, I might have a 12-person organization, an emerald on each side and 3 additional coaches on each side. But the reality is that if I have a 12-person organization, potentially that might only be producing about 750 volume points a month. Well, 750 volume points is a lot smaller than the 10,000 volume points that a team leader needs. And so really, by setting this new milestone, what we're asking our diamonds to do is to think, I've got to hit that, or even the people who aren't diamond yet, I've got to hit that rank of diamond, but I've got to keep on going. I've got to keep doing my challenge groups. I've got to keep building a group of advocates in my organization who are then going to be attracting new people in and building new volume in my organization. And so that's really the difference between a rank and a leadership ladder milestone, is that the leadership ladder milestone really creates a stretch goal at each rank. But when you achieve that milestone of the leadership ladder, your organization is primed and ready for growth. An example of that, Jeff, when we first started looking at all of the data, we looked back at the class of coaches who were diamonds in the month of January 2014. And when we looked at that class and we said, okay, let's look 10 months later and see where they are. 10 months later, 40% of those diamonds weren't diamonds anymore. They had slipped in rank. When we looked at the diamonds who met all of the attributes of team leader, who met those additional benchmark milestones around the diamond at team leader, 99% of those team leader diamonds were still diamonds 10 months later. And as a matter of fact, 63% of them had gone on just within those 10 months to become a star diamond. So you can see how the leadership ladder, once you drive towards those sort of bigger milestones at each rank, are really setting you up to take the next step in your business.
You know, Michael, it's a little, in all of that, I always kind of picture the building of a house, you know, where you can build it just skeletally and you've got the foundation and the framework, all that kind of stuff. But then when you dig into it and really look into it, you know, if it's just a skeleton and there's not real stable walls, you're going to have a weak organization that's going to concern you all the time. And as we talk to so many leaders that are moving their businesses forward, one of the best things we hear is when they say, I've got these solid diamonds with great organizations and, you know, upon which they build. And that's really the whole intent behind this, behind the, you know, this whole leadership ladder, you know, concept. As